welcome to this Natural Mindfulness walk with Lola and I. Thank you for joining us. We've just arrived in this forest. As you can hear, we're still close to the main road, over to my left. So there's traffic sound in the soundscape. Over to my right, I'm aware of the bird song, aware of my feet kicking a few stones as I walk along the path, and as they scrape too. As the sound from the road eases a little, the bird song becomes more noticeable. One of the things I endeavour to do on a natural mindfulness walk, and encourage you to do on a natural mindfulness walk, is to let go of any judgment of sound. It's very easy to describe man-made sounds like traffic, engines, machinery as noise. But as soon as we label those sounds as noise, we are allowing ourselves to become irritated by it. I often say on a natural mindfulness walk that a noise is just a sound that annoys us. So it's not the traffic sound that is annoying me. It's not the noise that's annoying me. It's my own perception of the noise. It's one of the wonderful things about natural mindfulness is, as a mindfulness practice, it gives us permission to relax our need to judge and to compare and contrast things, and just accept, as I said before, the soundscape, and notice the different sounds in that soundscape as I walk. So one of the first things I do on a natural mindfulness walk, and I'm doing today, is notice when my attention is drawn to particular sounds. Notice the habit I might have of judging and labelling those sounds as maybe one as beautiful and the other as annoying, irritating, and let go of that. Just hear the soundscape. Now I'd like to draw your attention to the landscape and the treescape. You might be wondering, what is the difference between a landscape and a treescape? Well, for me, looking up into beautiful towering trees like these, above and around me is the treescape. Different colours and shades. Some close, some far away. And the treescape is on the landscape. And I refer to a landscape as the surface and the treescapers around and above me when I'm in a forest like this. So as I walk with natural mindfulness, I'm combining the landscape, the treescape, and the soundscape, and using my senses of seeing, hearing, and feeling, sometimes smelling. There's a dry aroma, there's a dry smell around this forest because we've had some very hot weather. But I allow my senses to guide me, allow my eyes to be drawn to what attracts them in this landscape and treescape, and I allow my ears to be drawn to the soundscape. There's a bird to my left that I can't see, but I can work out where it is from the sound. And what I often do on a natural mindfulness walk is, rather than try and see, because in an environment like this it's not so easy to see. It's a phrase, can't see the wood for the trees, and it's a little like that here right now. So rather than relying on my sense of sight and looking around, I'm guided by my ears, and then using my ears, following the sounds with my eyes. On a path like this one, which is a very good path, if I was guiding a walk now, there may be a period where I would invite people to carefully, mindfully close their eyes or lower their vision and reduce the amount of focus that's on looking. Because we invest a lot of our time looking at the world through screens and looking at the world around us. Over time, the human brain has developed a huge visual cortex in the brain that often overrides the smaller cortexes in the brain connected to our other senses. So by reducing what you can see, either walking mindfully, very slowly, with eyes closed, or softening your focus and looking, maybe just looking down, using close vision, it then gives the other senses, sense of smell, sense of hearing, sense of touch, more opportunity to come to the fore and have a greater impact on your perception of the natural world around you. As I've moved out of the forest now, through that pathway here, I've come through what I call a transition point. It's a point where the landscape, treescape, soundscape shifts, and as I move through transition points, I invest my attention on noticing the shift. And one of the things, because I had lowered my vision, I was not focusing so much on vision, as I walked through, I noticed how warm it feels here. Warm and quite balmy. It's about 22, 23 degrees here in the UK right now. We're going through a small heat wave here, and I'm immediately walking into this sheltered space, but out of the forest. See now the treescape's very, very different here. I was able to notice the warmth on my skin. So I've just turned around. I'm going to walk back through this transition point now mindfully and practice some natural mindfulness. Very simple exercise here, which is moving from this space here with the temperature and move back into the forest, noticing when my skin, there, this is the point here. So at this point here, my skin is cooled. There's a breeze on my arms as I'm holding the camera. I'm going to step back through the transition point now. I can feel it right here. I can feel the heat back onto my arm. And as I turn, cool again. So a wonderful natural mindfulness exercise experience that I invite you to do when you're next out is notice these transition points and notice when, with a sense different to your sense of looking and seeing, notice when the sense, you notice a shift in that sense, whether it's feeling, it feels different on your skin, or to touch, sounds different. Because as well as noticing the difference on that transition point with the skin temperature, I also notice the sound shifts. There's more bird song here in the forest than as I moved out. Another natural mindfulness exercise I practice, as well as opening up my senses in this space, is a breathing exercise I call seasonal breathing. So as I walk now, I can sense the ground beneath my feet and the cool breeze on my skin, the soundscape around me, the treescape and the landscape with my senses. What I'm now going to do is introduce into this experience is attention on my breath. In fact, this is the first time I've noticed my breathing since I came into this forest. Now, that's probably because my mind was thinking about the video I'm shooting now and what I was going to share and how I was going to do that. And as I've been walking, I've been focusing on my senses. And interestingly, when I'm focusing on one or two or three things, everything else seems to drift into the background. It's not as noticeable, it goes quiet. So my breathing, even though I'm sure I was breathing, otherwise I'd be out of breath now. If I wasn't breathing, I would have been aware of it. So I know I was breathing, but I wasn't aware of my breathing. So now I'm focusing on breathing. And as I'm doing that, I notice that the sound of the breathing becomes more noticeable than the sound of the road and the sound of the birds. That seems to then drift into the background. I'll share with you now the seasonal breathing exercise. So, my in-breath I refer to as a spring breath. It's new, it's refreshing, it's life-giving, very much like a spring day, certainly here in the UK. It's what our spring is like. Refreshing, full of new life. So as I walk and breathe, I connect with the spring breath, the life-giving in-breath. So as well as the in-breath, I'm aware of my out-breath, which I call the autumn breath, because it's a form of release. I'm releasing oxygen. I'm releasing the refreshing spring breath. Well, I know I'm not releasing the actual breath, the oxygen I breathed in from these beautiful trees around me. I'm actually releasing toxins. I'm releasing what my body no longer needs. And that releasing carbon dioxide will feed these trees, which is a wonderful biosynchronicity between my body and these more than human bodies, natural bodies around me. It's a lovely connection we have. I take the spring breath in, lovely fresh oxygen, and then notice the autumn release out. Spring in, autumn out. And just as the trees release in the autumn time, they release their leaves, they release dead wood, I feel there's another connection there to the seasons, where I can release carbon dioxide to feed the trees, but I can also release tension. Holding this phone now, I recognise I have tension in my arms. I'm going to just change arms as I'm walking and feel that lovely letting go feeling in my right arm from no longer carrying the phone at head height. So a nice refreshing in-breath, spring breath, and a lovely releasing autumn breath, also releasing tension as well as toxicity from my body. Now, some of you listening to this may have already started asking about the other seasons. What about summer and what about winter? As we've only focused so far on spring and autumn. Well, this is the transition point again that I talked to you about before, and it's wonderful how we're walking towards a very stylish transition point here in the gate. So I'll just move through this point and head through here into a transition point here, an opening. Again, I can feel the heat again. So the transition points for me in the seasonal breathing exercise activity is the summer and the winter. And it's the space, the transition between the out-breath and the in-breath, and the in-breath and the out-breath. So we'll start the cycle now, and then I'll introduce the transition points. So refreshing spring in-breath and a pause. I'm not breathing in, I'm not releasing the breath, I'm relaxing. That's my summer pause, my summer period. And now release the autumn breath, and without breathing in and no longer breathing out, notice the winter space. I'm going uphill, so my spring breath came quicker than usual. I'll just stop here for a second so I can catch my breath. Spring in, autumn out. Spring in, autumn out. And now as I breathe in, pause for summer, relaxing. Release for autumn. Spring in, pause for summer, relaxing. Release for autumn. Refreshing spring in, relax. Release for autumn. So now we have 3 seasons. Refreshing spring in, a relaxing pause, and when it's right for you, release for autumn. Now let's focus on the winter pause. So take a refreshing spring breath in, relax through the summer, release through the autumn, and now rest till it feels right to take a refreshing spring breath in, pause for relaxing summer, release through autumn, then rest in winter before the next refreshing spring breath in, followed by a pause, relaxing summer, releasing autumn, and another rest before the cycle starts all over again. And of course, nature seems to relax through the summer. All the hard work's done through spring. And it's in our nature to relax in the summertime as well. It's when we go on our holidays, our summer holidays, and we hope that we'll have time to relax. But of course, in every moment, in every breathing cycle, there's an opportunity to relax. Have a summer relax with every breath you take. And winter rests, it hibernates. Everything, all the goodness goes back down into the ground, into the soil. And often things might look gloomy, things might look lifeless. However, we know from observing the seasons that it isn't very long through the winter until spring appears, refreshing us once more, followed by summer, relaxation, autumn, releasing, and back to winter again for our deep rest. Now on my return path, I'm on a higher path than the one we travelled on before. It's just down the valley here. I came up quite a steep path doing that breathing exercise, and what's interesting is since I've been practicing seasonal breathing, I also call it staying in breath. I wrote a book in 2018, Natural Mindfulness, Your Personal Guide to the Healing Power of Nature Connection, and in that book I called the exercise staying in breath, which was because I found when I guided people on walks, quite often they got out of breath or they lost their breath. So I thought it would be quite useful and natural to create a mindful breathing exercise that enabled people to stay in breath and recover from losing their breath or getting out of breath. So feel free to use that exercise yourself. If you do, let me know how you get on. If you've got any questions about it, let me know how you get on as well. If you were here with me now on this walk, walking with me on a guided walk, rather than the virtual version here, then obviously you'd be able to ask me questions and about the exercises, maybe questions about the healing power of nature, and perhaps questions about living life aligned to our true nature. So feel free to leave these questions, if you have any, underneath this video. It will be on YouTube, so you can leave it underneath my YouTube video. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel if you'd like to watch other videos like this. I also have an online Nature Connection World community platform that I'm encouraging people to come and join. It's an alternative to social media platforms. We can do most of what you can do on social media, the good bits, the enjoyable, the natural bits are available on this platform. It's a kinder place and a more secure space as well. And you can find us at community.natureconnection.world. So if you just put community.natureconnection.world into a web browser, you'll be directed to the community, which you can access on computers and desktops, and there's an app for it as well, so you can get it on your smartphone as well. And it's a place where people can connect, share experiences, understandings and insights about nature consciousness and our inner journey to a more conscious and deep connection with the natural world, but also our own true nature as well. As I've been saying for a long time now, since I started guiding walks in 2014, when we connect, we care. And what we care about, we protect and we nurture. So in the same way, when we disconnect, we stop caring. When we stop caring, we stop protecting and we stop nurturing. And if we remain disconnected from nature, we will be disconnected from our own true nature. And that won't be good for our well-being as we move through life. Okay, well, thank you for joining me on this walk. It's 30 minutes. A natural mindfulness walk is usually around 90 minutes when I guide walks. I guide walks in the Gloucestershire Cotswolds, and I've trained guides all over the UK and all over the world now as well to guide natural mindfulness walks. So if you'd like to find out if there's a guide near where you live, or if you live in the Cotswolds or are visiting the Cotswolds, you'd like to walk with me, let me know. If you join the community, and there are many guides on there, you can find the guides and they promote their walks on there. So maybe I'll connect with you on there. If you'd just like to connect, please get in touch. My email is ian@natureconnection.world. ian@natureconnection.world if you'd like to get in touch. So thank you. I'll just leave you with a little bit of the soundscape here, a landscape here, and the treescape here.